Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast,
a space dedicated to spreading the message that you have the power within to create everything you seek.
So if you're ready to enroll in a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, hang here with us.
We're your hosts, Rudy and Aniston, and this is Empowered Life. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast. My name is Rudy Ricksteins. I'm your host, and man, do we have an incredible episode lined up for you here today. I can say that right here up front because I've done my homework. We're going to be talking to one of the most incredible people that has achieved so much in life and is now turning around and sharing it, not only within his organization, but within his book, and then within how he's setting up people to be able to create similar successes for themselves. When I say I've done my due diligence, I am holding his book in my hand. And this is a 500 plus page book of nothing but unbelievable wealth of knowledge that is truly clearing up the misconceptions that we sadly receive all over out and in the world when it comes to health and well-being. If you follow me, you know that I am an advocate for people living their highest and their greatest potential to take care of themselves, to take care of their health, to take care of their well-being. But there's so much misinformation out there. And I have been running around following somebody, learning something, then I find out from somebody else it's not what it's meant to be. And finally, I have something which is in my hands that gives me a guiding rule book of what does it look like? What is the right thing to do? It is so detailed, so in-depth, and it is supporting people to finally understand who are they and what is the best diet for them, what is the best way to supplement and to live their lives. And so I'm super excited to bring Wade Lightheart to the Empowered Life Podcast. He is a president and the co-founder of Bioptimizers. I use their magnesium, and I cannot tell you enough of this incredible company and the products that they have and the quality that they put in their products. But I want to tell you a little bit about the man before we get into the book, before we get into what it is that they're doing. This is somebody that has achieved so much success. He is a 3-time national natural bodybuilding champion. He went into retirement and came out of retirement at age 50 and then won the men's open grand masters for the Ironman competitions, the Ironman International. And so if you heard the one word that I was emphasizing more than any other there, it was natural, and that he is focused on putting in the right things into his body. And we get to pick his brain for the next 40 minutes and learn a little bit about how we can achieve similar results in our lives. Wade, thank you so much for joining us on the Empowered Life Podcast. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Oh man, you have come out with just an incredible book. I'm so grateful to have it. I will tell you, it is intimidating to pick up this book because there is just so much information inside this book that is already starting to govern and drive my life. But before we get to your book that I really want to speak about, which is the Ultimate Nutritional Bible, and I'm going to be a huge advocate to our audience here today. I'm going to sound like I work for you and I don't, but I'm going to sound like it because I want everybody to get a copy of your book because I truly believe in the value of what you've put into it. And how you and your business partner show up in life and in business. But I want to talk a little bit first, if it's okay with you, about how you really got to be who you are today, because I'm aware that your sister passed away of cancer at 23 years old, and that was a pivotal moment for you in defining life. And I would want our audience to have a little bit of more understanding as to who you are, how you showed up to be the man that you are, how you were able to achieve all the things that you've achieved. And then that will set the stage for why do we have to now listen to what it is that you're saying and sharing inside your book.
Yeah, thanks for that. So, I grew up in rural Canada, and when I was 15, I was, essentially pushed into a situation that was very difficult. My parents moved to a remote resort. They were the caretakers of the resort, which sounds like a great, 500 acres in the middle of the woods, but you don't want to be there as a 15-year-old, and it's 5 miles to my nearest neighbor. I have to take a snowmobile out to the road to, catch a bus and things like that. So and then, an hour bus drive. So it was very difficult. My sister had been diagnosed with cancer. So she was dying of cancer, and all the mental, emotional, psychological resources that takes up over the 4 years before she died. So I had a lot of conversations with her about death and dying early on. So what I garnered from that experience was your life isn't a guarantee and your health isn't a guarantee. Simultaneously, I've been given a bodybuilding magazine by her and had Troy Ciclotto on the cover, Mr. California, and which was awesome. He was living in Venice Beach and training at Gold's Gym, and then I discovered Arnold Schwarzenegger, and of course he was the biggest TV star and the movie star in the world. And, he lived this wonderful lifestyle. And in his book, Education of a Bodybuilder, he said, well, you can achieve anything you want in life with hard work, self-discipline, and a positive attitude. And everybody I knew worked hard in that environment. Like everybody, it was like difficult, dangerous work, working in the woods, working in fishery, heavy mechanics, heavy equipment operator. Somebody died in our town every few months from some sort of disaster that happened accidentally. So people were living in a hard risk, hard environment. But this idea of self-discipline and a positive attitude were completely new concepts. Nobody in my sphere of influence were talking those things. And this was coming from one of the most influential people in the world. And I thought, his program looks a lot better than mine. And the difficulties of my environment I saw as opportunities or motivation points for why I needed to adopt a philosophy that was different than the one around me. And so I just built a gym in my barn and started training kind of like Rocky IV when, with sawhorses, and I built a pulley system, and I had, two wheelers under tractor tires and the whole 9 yards. And I trained that way for my first 4 years of training. And I would go out there, and sometimes my hands would freeze at the bar. I'd train in a snowmobile suit in the winter sometimes because it was so cold in there. And I just had this vision, and every week I would keep reiterating my long-term vision. I'm going to compete in the Mr. Universe. I'm going to sell supplements all around the world with my company. I'm going to live in Venice Beach, California. I'm going to train next to Arnold Schwarzenegger. All those things did eventually come true. How they came true, to answer the last part of your question, and virtually everything else, I take out what is my end goal operation, where is my ultimate vision of my life going to be, and then I work backwards from that point. Well, to be at the Mr. Universe, you got to win a national champion. To win a national championship, you got to win a provincial championship. To win a provincial championship, you got to win a local contest. To win a local contest, you need some muscles. So I get down to what is the thing that I can focus on right now that leads me to it, and then how do I break that down on a day-to-day basis, so that every day, even though to think about that far off goal it's too big, it's too far, but every day I'm building positive momentum. So, it took me 10 years to win my first contest. I don't have the genetics to be a great bodybuilder. I can get to the world championships. I don't necessarily can win the world championships. But the pursuit of that has provided, a great life. It helped me become a personal trainer, run my own nutrition store, eventually develop Bioptimizers. So everything has emerged from just getting down to what I could do on a day-to-day basis to move my life forward and apply positive attitude, self-discipline, and hard work. So Arnold's message was absolutely true. And I told him that not long ago. We were at Gold's Gym. We see him in the mornings. And, I told him that. So it was nice. It was nice to kind of come full circle. 37 years later or something like that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that you shared that. I haven't heard you share that. And so thank you so much. I love that there's so much we can take from that. I'm somebody who is advocating for people to live their highest and their greatest potential, and they want to have, be, do, and or achieve something. And so many people are going to say, I'm aspiring to be, someone that does something that Arnold Schwarzenegger does, or that this person's doing, but I don't have the physique, or I don't have the brains, or I don't have the height, or I don't have the speed, or whatever. And you were still able to achieve so much. Out of your bio, I left out so much information because there's just so much to share. And you mentioned that you were and participated in Mr. Universe, but you also participated in the Natural Olympia. And these are just incredible achievements that somebody can achieve. And you just said, I don't have what it takes to be able to create it from a genetic standpoint. And yet you were able to get all the way through that. You could win 3 different titles. You could, and I'm sure so many more that I'm unaware of, but the big titles and all of the success that's come from it. We at the Empowered Life podcast don't believe that your life is about you. We believe that your life is about what you do with what you achieve in your life. And you've achieved profound success, and now you're turning around and teaching it. And so, I would love to ask a question that I think so many people are going to want to hear right up front, because everybody really wants to know what's in it for them. Like, I'm going to listen to this episode, what's in it for me? And you're talking about health and you're talking about well-being. And so many people that I know close to me, or clients of mine, or friends and family, they are struggling to lose weight. They're in a place where they say like, man, I really want to be this way. I want to achieve this, but they struggle. And maybe they yo-yo with their weight a little bit. For me, I'm going to tell you, Wade, I have always struggled my whole life to pick up muscle. I've always said, I don't build muscle. I put a very clear thought and belief and emotion tied into it. You speak into maximizing your brain power as it relates to diet. I would love for you to start our episode off on that if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So I think we want to back the truck up and understand, how did we get here? And the fundamental component is we are products of the education system that was developed in Prussia, and that was to make mindless, obedient soldiers go into battle and not go against odds. That conditioning has led us to believe in the authorities in our institutions who are dictating. And those authorities talk about the food pyramid. They talk about the use of pharmaceuticals in order as healthcare and all of the components that coming out of acute healthcare system. These institutions have been hijacked by large corporations who are looking to ensure regulatory bodies, to influence regulatory bodies to maintain their market share and elect political campaign people. So what you have is not an authority based on truth and trust and information. And that was revealed particularly in the last few years with the pandemic. And, like the CDC released a document the other day on, the vaccines, for example. And it was 148 pages, all of it redacted. So 70 pages. So when you have an authoritative body, whether it's your government, these nutrition agencies, these exercise regimens, and years ago when I was coaching clients in personal training, I remember going to the gym. I didn't have a television at the time because I realized I didn't want my mind polluted with disinformation, but they had CNN and these type of legacy news medias on there. And they were giving dietary or exercise advice. And it was very clear to me that what they were suggesting would never allow a person to get to their to their dreams or to achieve even positive momentum. It was just gobbledygook. There was no context, there was no individualization, there was no application. And that goes down to our nutrient protocols, that goes down to all of these agencies. And then so the person who's struggling goes out into this sea of ideas and tries to find an attractive person who represents their ideal, and they're usually very convincing, and they have found a system that's worked for them, whether that's paleo or keto or vegetarian or if it fits your macros or carnivore, all the variances. And you see the rise and fall of these, what I call diet cults, because the institutions of education and information distribution and politicization have all been corrupted by self-interested organizations. So now we're trying to find these other people, but they also have a self-interest in order to promote and produce products and services. And there's nothing wrong with that. The challenge is that diet philosophy and strategy right for you, your goals, your lifestyle, and your unique genetics? And you're going to have about a 2% chance of nailing that. Okay, that's just a standard deviation of distribution of what's called a bell curve. 2% of people become the testimonials, the advocates. I did this, I overcame this disease, I lost all this weight, I became a superstar, my IQ shot up 15 points. Oh my God, let's do that. And you try it and it all goes to hell. Conversely, the hypercritics are the 2% that diet, caused a disease, made them gain a bunch of weight, they lost all their ideas. So what happens because of social media and all these multitude of channels, everybody is in this situation that you described. Well, this guy says this and this girl says that, and these seem diametrically opposed because the nuances for the individual, and then you have this blanket statement that is like, oh, well, everybody's body's different. Okay, well, how is it different? How is my body different? How is my brain different? So for your listeners, if we're going to talk about cognitive health, and we break down all the different goals, whether that's cognitive health, losing weight, gaining muscle, longevity, or athletic performance, the goal set that you're going to apply is really relative and needs to be applied to you, the individual. So if you're talking cognitive health, which is a big aspect for entrepreneurs, people that use their brain to make a living. Okay, if you use your brain to make a living, you need to be on your A game. And in order to be on your A game, you need to understand your neurochemistry. And your neurochemistry, there's a test you can take called the Braverman test. And it was essentially illustrating which neurochemicals are dominant in your brain. Because if you're dopamine dominant, which is also a precursor to addictive brains, then you need to set goals. You need to get to the next goal, and you're really motivated by success and goal orientation and things like that. But you need regular hits in order to keep that motivation up. If you're serotonin dominant, maybe you're not as motivated by external goals. Maybe you're motivated by social connection. So you're better served in the service industry or medical fields or things of, altruistic paths or, charities and these type of organizations where there's connection in people and really community oriented. If you're acetylcholine dominant, right, you're probably good at maintaining focus for long periods of time. So really long base goals are, etc. And then if you're maybe GABA, you might be more creative oriented, or you need space and time and need to be away from people and inspired by music and arts, and you get these downloads in your dreams, or you have a rich dream escape. So understanding your neurochemistry is the first key in getting cognitive performance. Your diet should spin out from that. So if you are someone who's waking up with brain fog a lot, or you're not able to regulate blood sugar, if you use a continuous glucose monitor and your blood sugar is all the way, and you take a genetic test, likelihood is going to show that you're very sensitive to blood sugar, and that you would probably do better, say, on a ketogenic diet where you have very stable, you don't eat that regularly, you get sustained long energies from fat metabolism, and you're probably more set up for endurance-based athletic pursuits. Likewise, if you're like myself, who doesn't metabolize fats very well, very acetylcholine dominant, I need carbohydrates, I need explosive type exercises, that really regulate my blood sugar and my eating. I need as much muscle mass because I'll overeat if I don't do. And I need these carbohydrates to generate the acetylcholine so that my brain works better. Where, say, Matt, my business partner, he works really better on the fats for extended cognitive performance. He's a little bit more dopamine dominant, and I'm a little bit more acetylcholine dominant. So you can see these differences, and then how our diets unfold for that. Almost nobody talks about this, and it drives me bananas. And then, of course, you look at your individual genetics. What things that you metabolize, what things do you have, optimal genetics for? There's like methylation pathways, and there's, positive genes and negative genes. And then there's the field of epigenetics, how you can use diet to turn off suboptimal genes and turn on optimal genes, and then customize your nutritional profile in supplements that you would take. For example, a great example is if you are a dark-skinned person, like my partner, she's from Brazil, she has dark skin. I can go outside and get my vitamin D here in Southern California in about 15 minutes exposure, because my genetics says I have low melanin in my skin, and I can take in this light, I'm powered up, my vitamin D levels are good. For someone like her, she'll need about 6 hours of sun time in order to ensure the same levels of vitamin D that I'm getting in 15 minutes. Conversely, if I stay out for 6 hours in the Southern California sun, I'm fried, like I'm burnt to a crisp. She has a beautiful golden tan. So these are just obvious observation points, but a good genetics test and a little bit of testing in around key elements, and I break that down in the book, will help you get there. And then building a diet that serves, in this regard, that goal. So if brain optimization, my goal, I need to know my neurotransmitters. I need to have a diet that's around that neurotransmitter stuff, and everything should correlate around that. Now, if I want to lose weight, that might be a different strategy. I might incorporate the neurotransmitter function, but I'm going to apply a calorie restriction model and a metabolic spiking program, so I can keep my metabolism up, so I don't screw my metabolism on the way to total fitness.
So you have, I would imagine, in just sharing all of what you did, added another layer of anxiety to so many people, because it seems like there's so much information, yet in your book you're able to break it out and articulate very complex things in really simple ways that we can understand. And I've gained so much value. I actually went and got stem cell treatments after reading about stem cells inside your book. My wife and I went to RMI in Costa Rica, just an incredible experience. But again, you touch on all of these things that are so important for us to be able to learn and to know about who we are and how we are, where I am going to share with you and going to ask for you to support our audience. When we get a copy of your book and we're holding, and for anyone watching on YouTube, I mean, this is a massive, thick book. It is truly the ultimate nutrition Bible, but it is very overwhelming. It is so much information. How do you recommend we use the book? Because I think that is going to be the biggest hurdle for somebody that is looking at this and wanting to gain and understand themselves and their body when there's so much information.
So if you go to your general GP, they have what's called a physician's desk reference guide. So when any set of symptoms or conditions comes up that the person reports, he turns to the physician's desk reference guide and he reads this. And because of his training, he has the comprehensive capabilities to understand, oh, these are the potential modalities for that. I would say that this is the same thing as a physician desk reference guide. What you need to do is say, what things are you struggling with in your life that you'd like to figure out that you haven't figured out? You go right to the table of contents, and it's going to be in the table of clients. You pick that chapter and read that chapter, and then you start implementing that in your life. I would say at the end of the book, there is 2 chapters on genetics and epigenetics. Now that's the complex side. The easiest way to solve that is to go get a good genetics test. There's a lot of great companies out there. And that's going to give you a profile of both your optimal and suboptimal genes. And from that, you are going to be able to instantly select a dietary process that's right for you. Because there's going to be indications through, and it's not intuitive. You think, oh, my family came from Northern Europe and, they're all this thing. And then you get your genes and you find out that like only 2% of your genes are Northern Europe and you have all this other genes. So we really forget who our great grandparents and great great grandparents and then how genes match up and how that manifests over time. So when you have those things today, you can cut the learning curve. Like what took me 20 years to figure out through trial and error, I could figure out now in 20 minutes after a genetics test. I'm going to preemptively decide which supplements are going to be right for me, which type of diets are going to be right for me, where are the areas that I need to offset from lifestyle, like what are my big risk factors, cardiac disease or cancer or whatever. And now I can build a whole regimen right around those things that are precisely designed for me so I can live long and strong. And that's what the book gives you the ability to do. So you don't have to read the whole thing. The average person would actually only need to consume about 150 pages of the book. And I would say, go get your genetics test first. And then that indication is going to give you the process. Okay, this. Let's go to those chapters and build out a routine out of that. And then it becomes easy and self-explanatory. The other thing is that within your family, you're going to have probably family variances within the family. Anybody that has kids knows that, Mikey likes this and Sally likes that. Well, why? They are actually pre-selecting for what's right for them, either to compromise or to complement an optimal state or to address some sort of compromisation from a suboptimal state. And so we're reactive creatures and we're just kind of cutting the curve for you to have to not try and spend so much time to figure it all out.
I love that. What's so interesting is when my wife and I got your book, we sat down at our dining room table. I took a deep breath. I was like, I am so overwhelmed right now. And she looked at, she said, I love that they called it the ultimate nutritional Bible. She's like, because it is a Bible. And her reference to it is she doesn't pick up the Bible and read it from cover to cover. It's something that you go, you grab, you dive into what it is that you're looking for, and then you have to digest and contemplate and then implement. And so it really does speak into the value of what it is. I want to share with our audience, I have no benefit or gain by having you on the show. I've got you here for the sole purpose that I think it's incredible. I want people to gain the value and the knowledge. I want to self-empower people to know what is right for them because there's so much misinformation. And so I want to pivot slightly, not too far from the book, but I want to speak into, you talk about the 17 main reasons why people fail their diets. And I really want to touch on what do you think is the most common reason that people are currently failing in achieving what it is they want for their health or their goal weight?
Yeah, 2 things. An unsustainable short-term strategy, and that's usually around weight loss because that's the primary thing that people get involved in. They're looking at a 12-week cycle, or they got to get in shape for a wedding or high school reunion or some sort of thing. And so what happens is their short-term strategy disrupts their metabolism. So you can't get out of the calories in, calories out. But if you look at the bodybuilding and fitness industry, the worst bodybuilders and fitness competitors in a local show all get in shape. They're better than most people will ever be in their entire life. The worst athlete that walks on that stage. Well, why are they so successful and the rest of the population so unsuccessful? Because bodybuilders and fitness competitors understand that it's not all about calories in, like dieting. It's about optimizing your metabolism in the dietary process. And we did some special dedication into that about most people's strategies are guaranteed to screw up their metabolism. So all diets will work for a while and then they fail because of those metabolic components. So if you don't understand that, or your trainer or your advisor is not able to develop and cultivate a program around that for you, you're going to run into serious problems. The second thing is your individual variance. So I've lost body fat and gained muscle on virtually every single dietary philosophy there is. Some are much better for me than others. So understanding which strategy that you can deploy for your individual needs, not just over the short term, but over the long term, is going to make the process so much easier so that you don't even have to think about it. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, plant-based guy, struggled with his weight his whole life, got some data points really back. He's in a very dire medical condition. He's got to lose 50 pounds. He's never been able to do it. I said, look, I mastered the plant-based diet. I've been on plant-based for 25 years. I'm not advocating that plant-based diet, but that's, I know, really important for his spiritual and social values. He's a Hindu guy and he can't eat these other things. So even if his body was more geared for a higher protein, higher animal-based protein, he can't do it because it's overriding really emotional and psychological values. And we have a hierarchy of values so that if you're against your values, socially, culturally, spiritually, and emotionally, and psychologically, you'll never stick with it. So I said, oh, no problem. Here's what you need to do. And I gave him a few key elements. He did this thing. I said, it's going to take about 3 weeks for the adaptation process for you to go. You're going to go through this fluctuation. And then once you go into that, your body will become a fat burning machine. And then you just lock it in. And then 50 weeks from now, you'll be where you need to be. Well, he's 4 weeks in now and everything's right on track. He's losing weight. His blood sugar's stable. He's like, this is so easy. And this is a 45-year-old guy that has struggled with this for 25 years. He just made a few little tweaks, just a few little tweaks in his diet, and that changed everything. And that was food preparation, ensuring he had a higher protein intake, and for him, increasing his fiber to help with his blood sugar. So he was pre-diabetic, had cardiac conditions, grossly overweight, brain fog, all of the disrupting factors. We were able to correct most of the his feel-good systems in 3 weeks. And now he's on the way to get his cosmetic and health objectives, physiological objectives achieved, which we're going to do in a year. So we're going to reverse, 45 years of problematic function in a year. So when you're looking at a dietary strategy, I think people have to look at, it's going to take you however long to get there. So if you're 40 years old or 35 years old, you didn't get there last year. You didn't get there you got there over the choices over the course of your whole life. So give yourself sufficient time. I believe that for most people, if you look at the BMRs of most people today, you're looking at 6 months minimum and probably 12 to 18 months to hit your ideal weight safely without screwing up your metabolism. And you can make that fun, and we show you how to do that, right? We even show you how eating your favorite foods is actually going to help you if you do it in a strategic fashion. You can't starve your way to success. You have to eat your way to success. And then the final piece is when you get to your new weight, the research is very solid. You are going to need 12 to 18 months of a maintenance strategy diet, which is different than a getting to your goals diet, to have your body reset to that as your set point weight. And in all of those conditions, muscle is king, Weight training is king. And the reason is your muscle mass is directly correlated to your metabolic outrate. So any dietary or exercise program that doesn't involve resistance training, the likelihood of long-term success or being at your best, especially as you go through the aging process, very unlikely. So why even not? Like, you just have to go down that route. Now, I'm not saying you have to be, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you do have to do resistance training, because we are the effect of rapid technological innovation that took us out of being physical beings and just being like bodies that carry our heads around.
Yeah, I think that is so important. And obviously you could speak into, over the age of 45, how your body depletes its ability to be able to maintain the muscle. And so, as we age, we're all learning that, and everybody wants longevity. I think that right now is the sexy word that's out in the marketplace, is we're wanting to live a better quality of life, and people are selling a way for you to achieve longevity, and yet you're giving it to us in a really simple way for us to be able to understand. I am going to deviate slightly with my questioning, because I just want to selfishly ask the question, but I want to point out to our audience for a second that, you have sections in the book where you talk about successful diets, and you list each diet and how it can be successful. And you're not advocating you have to be on a ketogenic diet, you have to be in a vegan diet, you have to be on a, whatever. You actually give people the choice. And that's what I like so much about the book, because I am so confused by, as I started the episode today, with what we see out on social media, and people are claiming to be experts and authority in something. They're making statements, and then we're getting adverse effects or results from them. And you're able to demystify or debunk so much of that and put it into a way that makes it, very tangible for somebody to be able to pick up and say, great, now I know who I am or what I need to do to be able to get there. Something that you talk about is, the ability to be able to manifest your dream body. And I'm somebody that speaks into manifesting a tremendous amount in my life and into my work. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about how somebody could start right now manifesting their body, and how important is that in the process?
There's a great, there was a great self-help book or audio put out a long time ago. It's called The Greatest Secret. I think it was Earl Nightingale, Conant, and the people who were successful in life focused on what they wanted most of the time. So if you have an idea of what you want to look like, you have to take that body that you have superimposed yourself, and you need to see yourself in that, and you need to put pictures up of people who look the way that you want to look, or that sort of thing. I did that when I was a little kid. Intuitively, I understood this. Arnold did that. I did that. Then you have to take yourself and see where you are, and put your own pictures up of where you're at. And this is not fun. It's painful. You need to leverage both inspiration as an attractive goal, and you need to leverage the pain of where you're at. So one of the things that so many clients regret is they don't want to see pictures of themselves in a bad state. And then one of the big motivational pieces for people also is they saw themselves a picture with their friends or something in a post, and then like, oh my God, I can't believe I look that bad. And that became the motivation. So we are actually motivated by negative influences much stronger than we are positive influences. I wish it was the other way, but I believe a bifurcated motivation strategy. I'm going to that goal, and here's where I am. Now, I'm going to pull in an expert to help me design a pathway to that, because if I was where I needed to be, I wouldn't look the way I do. And you have to have enough humility to understand that you don't know what you're doing, because if you did, this wouldn't be an issue. And my biggest mistake, if I looked at my first 10 years of my career, is that I did mentorship out of my books. I learned things by books. So it's the same thing as going on Instagram or social media or whatever to learn your expert. But anytime someone is speaking from those places, they're generalizing. They're generalizing, or they're not revealing. And I'll give you a specific example of that. I was so excited when Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding came out. I devoured, and it was a book even bigger than this, right? And it was chock full of incredible information. And Arnold illustrated all the exercise and how to do it and his routine and everything. And I went into his routine my first year of college, and I was 176 pounds, and I'm trying to build as much muscle possible. I did the 9 times a week, 50 sets of workout, absolute insane volume with supreme dedication. And at the end of the semester, I weighed 175 pounds. I lost a pound of body weight. I had also contracted hypoglycemia because I was consuming so much exercise. I was doing so much exercise and training, I couldn't recover. And I was sitting in the cafeteria and I ate 10 plates, literally 10 plates of food one day and was still hungry. And I also induced exercise-induced migraines. I was training so hard and so intense and so much, I began to get contractions inside my arterial supply, my blood supply, and was screwing up my, that's intense. What Arnold did not reveal in that book is that everybody was using drugs to do his program. They were using steroids and things like that. And he didn't reveal that because it wasn't in vogue at the time to reveal what he was honestly doing. And that was a key element. And the same thing when you watch that Instagram influencer or this person, 99 times out of 100, they're not revealing the peptides they're on. They're not revealing the hormones that they're on. They're not revealing that they're on, a GLP-1 antagonist or whatever that is. They're not revealing that. They're saying, oh, I eat this diet or I do this thing or I do this workout, but you're not getting the whole story, right? And it's disingenuous and dishonest. And that's why when I did my competitions and all this stuff, I'm like, look, I'm not against people using TRT, peptides, hormone optimization, all these things that do have benefits in the right environment. I'm not doing this at this point. It's the regulatory components in the road. I'm going to save that can down to kick that can down the road, but you're going to know exactly what I'm doing and all of those components. And I'm also putting the caveat, this is what I've developed over the course of 50 years to figure out that's right for me. There are principles that are right, but the actual details are going to come down. And that's where an expert comes in and fixes things. So my first 10 years, I didn't have an expert. I went to won my first contest, but I was confused in those little nuances for that. I got some advice from a former winner. I didn't follow it because I wasn't sure if it was true. The next year, I hired a professional coach, and I made more progress in 9 months than I had done in 10 years. And because he had been there, done that, trained all these other people, I didn't like that unknowingness. I think that if you don't know what you're doing, it creates a certain level of anxiety and you're more likely to abandon. If you have someone in expertise that knows it, does it, understands your nuances, you pay the person that money and you hold to a higher standard. And every week every 2 weeks, take those pictures, do the daily weight scales, put another picture up, and you start to see the process. You start to see the progress, and this creates what we call an endless dopamine line. Oh my God, I got a little bit better. I lost a pound. Look, my waist is a little bit bigger. I hit a personal record on this exercise. I hit all my workouts this week. And you start to get addicted to the process of the momentum, and eventually you'll get to the goal. And that's the methodology I've used for success. I use it in every single area of success. Like, I use it in business. I use it in fitness. I use it when I decided to go do my marathon after the Olympia. All of those things, I do the exact same process, and I've taught it to my thousands of students around the world over the last 30 years.
I love that you speak into we need to be able to hold ourselves accountable, because accountability drives 95% of the success of what we're creating. But rather than looking for the external accountability, which is what I'm an advocate for, is that people find somebody to hold them accountable. You're getting yourself to hold you accountable. You're putting up a picture, and if you don't like what you're looking at, it's becoming your motivator to be able to do what it is that you're doing. And so there's an outside force that's now driving the internal drive, in addition to the knowledge, the diet, the coach, the so on. I would love to ask you, and again, selfishly, Wade, I've got you here. I'm going to ask, what is your opinion of the healthiest way for somebody to eat?
Yeah, there's a lot of powerful evidence. I would say, first things first, blood sugar regulation. you need a diet that allows you a stable blood sugar levels, because if you're eating any diet that creates high spikes and low valleys in your blood sugar, cognitive health is not going to work. Your likelihood of staying on that diet is really hard. And if you can stay on the diet, it'll likely be you'll experience a lot of pain and suffering during that diet, that it'll be restrictive and not feel good. So the first step in dietary regulation is to make sure that you have a stable blood sugar. Now, you can do that two ways. Blood sugar is directly correlated to satiety. And satiety is the sense of feeling full. Feeling full has two components. Feeling full is that I've eaten enough to sustain myself, but feeling full is also a regulative of your blood sugar levels. If my blood sugars are stable, I'm not hungry. If my blood sugar is unstable, I'm likely to be hungry. And in the world that we live in today, I'm going to probably eat too many calories, because that's the whole industry that we're living in. We have a plethora of calories. And evolutionary, we starve to death a lot as humans. And so we have all these evolutionary biases to eat as much as we can at times, because that was a survival mechanism. But when you have a plethora of food and highly palatable food, if you don't maintain your blood sugar, your willpower is going to go down. You're going to hit the ding dongs. You're going to pull into the 7-Eleven. You're going to open up a bag of chips while you're mindlessly watching Netflix, and all of a sudden 2,000 calories are gone. And you're like, oh, how did I do that? I screwed up again. And then I'm a bad person, and I can't follow this, and I don't have discipline. And all the negative self-talk emerges out of that. So satiety is the key. We talk about that in the book, but there's two ways to achieve satiety. I think protein is king on satiety. And a lot of people, if you look at go back to bodybuilders and fitness competitors again, what do? They have regular protein servings throughout the day. Now, some people are going to do better with protein and carbohydrates. Other people are going to do better with protein and fats. If you're a vegetarian, or even if you're on the more meat eating side, I would say another way to boost that up is through fiber. So I'm the fiber king. You need about 30 grams of fiber for healthy function. However, a recent meta-analysis on longevity, if you get fiber from fruits, from legumes, from vegetables, then and a little bit of cereal grains, proper cereal grains, the right ones, those four type of fiber groups are going to increase a 12 to 35% increase in longevity. The other benefit of fiber is that it takes a long time to digest, like protein, but fiber feeds your bacteria, and the bacteria in your gut, your good bacteria, is what builds all these things. So when you keep your bacteria healthy, you don't crave sugar as much. You feel full longer. You're producing all these antioxidants and these super nutrients that aren't evident inside of our model of calories of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates that most people build calorie diets on. And so I've leveraged fiber as my superpower to be able to give all my health parameters. So not only am I able to perform at a high level, the fiber content of my diet has all of my biomarkers. I'm predisposed for blood sugar dysregulation. I'm predisposed to gain more weight, and I'm predisposed for cardiovascular incidents. So if I follow just a traditional protein carbohydrate diet or a protein fat diet, I'm probably going to die of a cardiac event sometime in my 70s or 80s, even though I did everything right, because that's my genes. But with the fiber and on a plant-based diet, the outcomes for cardiovascular health is really good. However, blood sugar dysregulation is an issue, so I bolster my diet with protein. I use fiber. And so we show you how to mix and match those things, but I think protein and fiber are the two best things that you need to focus on for satiety. Satiety is the feeling full, and feeling full has both a physical and a blood sugar component. And if you can master those, you don't feel hungry. And if you don't feel hungry, you can stay on your diet long term.
You know, Wade, as we bring our episode to a close, I want to touch on that. I am abundantly aware that your book, The Ultimate Nutrition Bible, is literally just the beginning of the conversation. And you have multiple resources that are available to anyone who is wanting to take control of their life. Could you speak into a little more about what comes after the Bible?
Yeah, well, if they get the course too, they can watch all that on videos. We filmed it in the Hollywood Hills, which summarizes everything. There's also an auditory version of it, so that you can listen to it while you're going along. Pick a chapter, listen to it, and so that we have cookbooks that come with the course if you go down there. But I also give away a free course on our site at Bioptimizers called the 84 Days. And the 84 days covers everything beyond just your diet and all these things. It truly teaches you the principles of optimizing your cellular environment. And the reason I did that was because I understood that people are so focused on diet, but the first three things they need to focus on if they want to be healthy and fit is air, is water, is exercise, and sunlight and sleep. And so I created an acronym called AWESOME, and we get into that. Optimizers is the next part, and then mental beliefs and attitude, education and testing and coaching. All of those flesh those out. But air, water, and exercise are universally applied. Most people don't breathe properly. Most people don't hydrate sufficiently enough. And most people don't move enough. If you can get those three things in your diet or in your lifestyle, so I give a free course and I show people how to do that. And then I've broken it down so that you can do a 15-minute day routine and receive all the benefits of a weight training exercise, a cardiovascular event. You can take all your nutrients, all your things in 15 minutes in the 40. If you do that every single day, I guarantee that you will produce a healthier, more vital side of your life, and you just build from that. And so I unpack that. I give it away for free because I really want people to understand it. I spent my whole life doing this. I've coached thousands of people doing it. Matt's coached thousands of people. We have completely different dietary philosophies, but we agree on a set of principles and we know that they work. And that's been the most popular course that we give away at our site Bioptimizers. We have all sorts of products to support digestive health, brain health, cognitive health, nervous system optimization, magnesium, things like that. That's all part and parcel. And, I'm as excited as I am about the success of the company. We're going to hit Inc. 5000, I think the third year in a row. It's one of the fastest growing companies out there. I'm more excited about the how many products we ship out and how much people come on our education system, because I know that people have been sold a raw deal. They've been misinformed by the institutions that we used to be able to trust. And I'm here to provide an alternative. And I know that alternative works. I've been able to replicate it. You're not that unique. And so I regularly give that stuff away for free so that people can just integrate it without even knowing all the other stuff. If you do that, you'll be fine.
I am on your and Matt's mailing list. And so I am the kind of guy that never wants to be on a mailing list. I detest people emailing me. And yet your emails have so much value, and they're written by either yourself or by Matt. And there's tremendous value in content that we can take. And what I like is that you're giving us information that we can understand, that we can then implement into our lives, and that you're speaking to who we all are as individuals and not giving us just one solution. Oh, pay me $900 and I can give you these 4 things. And it's very personalized to the individual. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming out on the show. I hope that our audience has 100% piqued an interest in wanting to learn a little bit more about who you are, what you do, what Bioptimizers does to create an impact out in the world. And I also want to selfishly remind everybody that, people's lives are always about what they do with what they have experienced. And, Wade, you're so qualified to turn around and teach everything that you know because you first had to live it. And in 50 years of, putting in the work and learning and testing and struggling and failing forward, you're not able to turn around and support some people to be able to do that. I have so many friends and clients and family that I want to be able to support in also being able to take accountability for their weight. And selfishly, I also want to be able to shift my way of being into believing I have the power and the potential to build muscle and to have a healthy and strong and vibrant body because I have long-term goals. And I want to live till way over 100, and I want to be healthily living over 100. And we have to create a change today if that's who we want to be tomorrow. And you obviously, again, beautifully articulated that throughout your time with us today. To everybody that listened to the Empowered Life podcast today, I want to thank you for investing in you. The greatest investment you can make in yourself is always pouring into yourself, your further development, and then taking accountability for who you are and how you get to show up out in the world. Wade Lightheart is a light for us in showing us how to show up in the world to live the highest and the greatest potential of who we are and who we can be. I'm going to put the show notes for the Ultimate Nutrition Bible into the link. They have graciously given our audience a 10% off link. Please go ahead, click it, grab a copy of your book, and then don't just put that book on a shelf. I want you to inhale the 150 pages that are related to you and how they can change your life so you can live the better version of who you are and who you ultimately came here to be. I'll catch you guys in the next episode of the Empowered Life Podcast. I love you. Thank you. Goodbye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And we would love your support in leaving us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to check the show notes for more information on how you can find us online and on Instagram. Now go create an amazing day for yourself, and we'll see you again soon.